There comes a moment in every man's life when he discovers that the enemy he spent years preparing for never existed outside of him. Not the rival he trained to surpass, not the hardship he blamed for breaking him, not the world he believed was holding him back. The true enemy, the ancient one, is quieter, older, and far more intimate than anything he has ever faced. It lives beneath the ribs. It whispers beneath every hesitation. It grows in the cracks of an undisciplined mind. Ancient warriors knew this long before modern psychology carved names for fear, ego, and inner fragmentation. They called it the shadow within, the unseen saboteur that steals a man's strength while pretending to protect him. It tricks him into comfort. It feeds him excuses dressed as logic. It convinces him that the softer path is the wiser one. So the old masters forged a system not for the body, but for the unseen battlefield of the mind, a discipline woven from Zen stillness, samurai severity, and stoic clarity. They believed one truth above all: if you defeat the weakness within, no force in the world can bend you. But if you avoid it, no armor will save you. This story begins with a young warrior named Ray, standing at the edge of his own limits, unaware that his greatest opponent breathes with him, waits for him, and follows him into every sunrise. If this lesson echoes in your heart, stay and walk the path with us. Ray stepped into the dojo with the posture of a warrior, but the soul of a man at war with himself. His stance was firm, his breath steady, his blade sharp, yet behind his eyes lived a trembling world. Thoughts scattered inside him like startled birds breaking from a tree at dusk. Even before a spar began, he could feel the noise growing. What if I fail? What if they see through me? What if I am not who I pretend to be? In his first simulation, he hesitated, not because the opponent was skilled, but because his mind flickered with self-doubt. A single misstep, a single heartbeat of fear, and the world inside him collapsed. The master watched without a word, fingers brushing the cracked wooden bead on his wrist, a symbol no student had ever asked about. Something in that silence made Ray feel exposed, as if the master already knew the weakness he tried to hide. Ray tried to recover, forcing his breath into a rhythm that felt borrowed rather than owned. But the dojo floor seemed louder than before, every footstep echoing the truth he feared. Strength meant nothing if the mind holding it was fractured. Sweat gathered on his palms, not from exertion, but from the quiet humiliation of knowing he had defeated himself long before his opponent even struck. The master approached slowly, stopping beside the old cedar chest where a single red thread hung from its corner, frayed, untouched, never explained. Ray's gaze caught on it. Something about its presence felt like a warning, or perhaps a reminder of a discipline he had not yet earned. "Your hands are ready," the master murmured, "but your mind is still running from shadows that bear your face." Ray swallowed hard, unsure whether those words were guidance or judgment. But the master was already walking toward the meditation hall, without looking back, without saying another word. And Ray knew the real training was about to begin. The master led Ray down a narrow corridor, deeper into the dojo than he had ever gone. The air shifted as they walked, cooler, stiller, as if the walls themselves were holding their breath. At the end of the hall stood a sliding door of pale cedar, unmarked except for a single burned symbol at its center, an empty circle. Ray had never seen it open. No student had ever spoken of what lay behind it, though rumors moved like quiet ghosts. Inside was nothing. No mats, no weapons, no incense. Only a vast room and the kind of silence that reveals what sound usually hides. "Sit," the master said. Ray obeyed. At first, he thought he could handle the stillness, but within minutes, his mind began pounding with old humiliations, imagined futures, and whispers he didn't know he carried. The silence was not empty. It was a mirror. A mirror he was not yet ready to face. Ray's breath grew unsteady as the noise inside him swelled. Memories he thought he had buried clawed their way back. The day he froze in his first real fight, the disappointment in his father's eyes, the quiet fear that he was living someone else's idea of strength. Each thought sharpened like a blade pressed against his throat. He wanted to stand. He wanted to speak. He wanted anything but this unbearable confrontation with himself. The master remained at the doorway, watching with the calm of someone who had seen countless men crumble under the weight of their own unguarded minds. He lifted a small cracked bowl from a shelf, a bowl repaired with gold that glimmered faintly in the dim light. "This," he said softly, "is what a mind becomes when it accepts its fractures instead of running from them." Ray stared at the golden seams, unable to ignore the truth. His strength would only begin where his avoidance ended. And as the master slid the door shut, leaving Ray alone in the echo of his own thoughts, a tremor passed through him. The subtle fear that this empty room would reveal something he was not prepared to see. Night fell with a heaviness that seemed almost deliberate, as if the forest itself wished to test Ray. The master walked ahead without a torch, carrying only a small wooden box bound with a thin red thread. A ritual object Ray had never seen opened. No explanation was given. No reassurance offered. Instead, the master handed Ray a blindfold. "Courage," he said, "is not light. It is the willingness to walk without it." Ray tied the cloth over his eyes. Darkness swallowed him whole. Every rustle became a threat. Every breeze felt like a presence moving toward him. Somewhere behind the trees, something snapped. A branch, or perhaps his imagination. The fear rose fast, sharp, instinctive. His breath faltered. His hands shook. For a moment, he believed he was truly in danger. And that is when the master whispered from somewhere unseen, "Fear is real, but the monster is yours." The words cracked something open inside Ray. Ray steadied himself, though the ground felt unstable beneath his feet. The darkness pressed closer, feeding on every hesitation. "Name it," the master said from the shadows. "Name what hunts you." Ray swallowed, forcing himself to confront the shape forming in his mind. Not a beast, not a spirit, but a memory. The night he froze during a real confrontation. The moment he felt his father's silent disappointment like a blade across his spine. That was the creature stalking him now. As Ray whispered the truth, the forest shifted. The sounds no longer pierced him. They simply existed. The fear didn't vanish. It transformed, becoming something he could observe instead of drown in. His breath returned. His stance widened. Presence replaced panic. The master stepped out, holding the wooden box with the red thread still unbroken. "You walked blind," he said, "but not unaware. That is the beginning of mastery." Yet Ray sensed the box was meant for a later night, a lesson far darker than this path of fear. Progress brought Ray a dangerous kind of confidence, the kind that grows quietly beneath discipline, pretending to be strength. His steps became sharper, his breath smoother, his victories more frequent, and somewhere inside him, a whisper he did not notice began to speak. "You are rising faster than the others." The master noticed immediately. Without warning, he summoned 3 elders, warriors far past their physical prime. Their movements were slow, their bodies weathered, their joints wrapped in cloth. Ray felt a flicker of superiority. This will be easy. It was not. The elders dismantled him with the ease of men brushing dust from their robes. No power, no speed, only precision born from decades of humility. Ray hit the floor again and again, each impact cracking a part of his pride. When he finally stayed down, breathless and humiliated, one elder traced a finger across the dojo floor, revealing a faded symbol, a circle broken at one side. "The place where pride escapes," he said. Ray felt the message before he understood it. Ray pushed himself up, cheeks burning, pride splintered. The elders did not mock him. Their silence was worse. It felt like standing before 3 mirrors that reflected only his flaws. The master stepped forward, carrying a small lacquered box Ray had never seen before, its lid sealed with a strip of parchment scorched at the edges. "Ego," the master said, placing the box between them, "is the shield your weakness hides behind. Shatter the shield, and the weakness finally shows its face." He opened the box just enough for Ray to glimpse what rested inside. A cracked wooden mask, once painted white, now stained with age. Before Ray could study it, the master closed the lid again. "You are not ready to wear this," he said. "Not until you learn to be small." The words cut deeper than any blade. But somewhere beneath the sting, a strange clarity took root, an awakening shaped by humiliation. Ray bowed, not out of obedience, but out of something new, something unsteady yet honest. And the master, watching him rise with quieter eyes, knew the next lesson would demand even more than shattered pride. Dawn arrived not softly, but like a blade drawn across the horizon, swift, cold, and merciless. The master summoned Ray to the courtyard where frost clung to the stones like thin white scars. In the center stood a small wooden table. On it, a single burned ledger, its pages sealed shut with wax, and beside it, a stick of black ink that looked older than the dojo itself. "Today," the master said, "you learn Shukume no Gei, the discipline of daily death." Ray felt a chill that did not belong to the morning air. The master motioned for him to kneel. "Write," he instructed, sliding the ledger toward him. "But not your achievements, not your ambitions. Write the version of yourself that must die today." Ray hesitated, fingers trembling above the ink stick, as a quiet terror rose in him. Because he suddenly knew the self he had been protecting was the one standing in the way. Behind him, the master waited with unsettling stillness. Ray dipped the ancient ink stick into water, watching the liquid darken like a storm gathering its first shadow. Then, slowly, he pressed the brush to the page. The first stroke felt like betrayal. The second felt like confession. By the third, his hand steadied, as if some hidden truth had decided it would no longer wait. He wrote of the fear he concealed behind discipline. He wrote of the pride still lingering beneath humility. He wrote of the boy who wanted praise more than mastery. Each sentence felt like burying a body that had been living inside him far too long. When he finished, the master closed the ledger and locked it inside a drawer carved into the table. A drawer Ray had never noticed, marked with a faint cracked cross symbol. "Tomorrow," the master said, "you will write again. Death is a ritual, so is rebirth." Ray bowed, but as he rose, he sensed that the drawer's other entries, the ones written by warriors before him, carried stories he was not yet meant to touch, and the silence around that drawer felt heavier than the morning frost. The morning of the final test arrived with a strange stillness, not the calm before a storm, but the calm after a man finally stops running from himself. The courtyard had been transformed into a circle of spectators, elders, and apprentices. At the center stood Ray's opponent, a seasoned warrior whose presence alone could unhinge weaker minds. His armor bore scratches like old stories, and his gaze held the weight of battles both won and survived. Ray stepped forward, not with bravado, but with a quietness that startled even him. The master watched from the shadows, one hand resting on the same cracked wooden mask he had once refused to let Ray touch. As the signal sounded, Ray felt the familiar rise of fear, but this time it had nowhere to grow. His breath anchored him. His awareness expanded around him like a protective veil. His mind, once scattered and frantic, now moved as one unbroken line. For the first time, Ray did not feel the need to prove anything. He simply was. The clash began not with fury, but with precision. Ray stepped aside from the first strike, not out of fear, but out of understanding. The kind that comes when movement is guided by presence. rather than panic. His opponent pressed harder, faster, attempting to shatter Ray's composure. But Ray no longer fought the man in front of him. He fought the echoes within himself, and for once, they did not answer back. Every inhale steadied him. Every exhale dissolved the old tremors that once governed him. He met each strike with calm deflection, each advance with grounded stillness. A moment came, sharp, suspended in time, when Ray saw an opening. Not a physical one, but a mental one. A gap in the opponent's intention. Ray tapped his blade lightly against the man's armor. A symbolic strike, clean and undeniable. The courtyard fell silent, not because Ray had won, but because he had not wavered. The master stepped forward, placing the cracked wooden mask into Ray's hands at last. "You no longer wear the face that once defeated you," he said. But as Ray bowed, he noticed something unsettling. The mask's inside carried faint writing, etched by someone long before him. And the message seemed meant for the next warrior who would walk this same silent path.